Bedward the Vampire here to bring you another spooky crypto vocabulary lesson brought to you by Reimagine 2020. Airdrop. An airdrop is what you have to watch out for when bats are flying overhead. That's a little joke. But seriously, an airdrop is a method of distributing cryptocurrency in which market participants do not need to exchange their existing assets for a new one, but rather receive it as if it were free money raining from the clouds. Recipients get their airdrops based on some prerequisite factors, such as holding a parallel cryptocurrency.
Dear citizens of the world, there is a revolution upon us, you see. The old and outdated ways of indirect representation, where those who parade around as if to have exceptional power, in their all but flattering three-piece costumes, claiming to speak in the voice of your values. The archaic ways of our past where we are separated by entry barriers to knowledge, where we are separated by time, space, and the speed at which information can travel. The days left on those bygone years are counting down and dwindling. The shadow of our past that casts itself upon the present is growing dimmer and dimmer by the day. Those of us here who believe in a brighter future, founded on technological innovation, distributed models of power, the separation of money and state, and, above all else, the free and open exchange of ideas. Those of us who believe in these things know what is to come. Through our collective efforts and through a coordinated strategy to educate others, we can, without permission, reclaim this world from the ground up. So, please, my friends, join us. I hope you are ready to reimagine 2020.
This goes out to all my OG holders. Legend Gang. Coin Bros. I just woke up in the morning, check that market cap. We up. Shout out to my dog, what you barking at? What up, dog? A package at my door, man, I've been waiting. Hope the UPS guy ready for a conversation. We gon' talk about this crypto if you like it or not. Shut up, Jordan Belfort, bitches, shit ain't a stop. I'm that dude reppin' that blockchain on the block. I'm talking crypto with my neighbors while they taking a walk. And my girl love talking crypto with me. Got my son straight, ICO picking with me. Legend gang, man, I keep it with me. Better take a long lunch if you whipping with me. We gon' talk about it, we gon' talk about the dip. John McCaffrey told me Bitcoin to $1 million, or he gon' eat his own dick. Ever seen a grown man eat his own dick? What? No, hell no. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear about it. I'll be talking crypto when I'm taking a piss. I'll be talking crypto in the Uber or Lyft. Talking crypto when my daughter's making the wish. I'll be talking crypto when I'm taking a seat on the bus, riding to a meetup. I'm talking like-minded people there to greet us. I'm talking Krispy Kremes, endless margaritas, man. I'll be talking crypto to the dude in the mall cleaning sneakers. This is peer-to-peer, ain't got time for waiting. No. This is peer-to-peer, don't need no bank statement. I got the QR, tatted for that fast payment. Ooh, that's not matching up right. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear about it. Yeah, we the Coin Bros, all we talk is that crypto, baby. So if you ain't about that, get the F out my face, dog. We talking crypto, we talking crypto, we talking crypto.
Greetings! Edward the Vampire here, and it's time for another spooky crypto vocabulary lesson brought to you by Reimagine 2020. Proof of stake. Proof of stake? Oh, that sounds terrifying to a vampire. Proof of stake is a type of consensus algorithm by which a blockchain network that houses a cryptocurrency aims to achieve distributed consensus for validating transactions on the network. In proof-of-stake-based cryptocurrencies, the creator of the next block is chosen via various combinations of random selection, usually determined by the amount of wealth or stake the validator is willing to risk in order to win the opportunity to be honest. This effectively helps to keep the network secure. Whew, that's less scary than I thought.
My friend.
Hey, it's the Crypt.
Hi there, I'm Doc.
Hello, my friends.
Dear citizens of the world, there is a revolution upon us, you see. The old and outdated ways of indirect representation, where those who parade around as if to have exceptional power, in their all but flattering three-piece costumes, claiming to speak in the voice of your values. The archaic ways of our past where we are separated by entry barriers to knowledge, where we are separated by time, space, and the speed at which information can travel. The days left on those bygone years are counting down and dwindling. The shadow of our past that casts itself upon the present is growing dimmer and dimmer by the day. Those of us here who believe in a brighter future, founded on technological innovation, distributed models of power, the separation of money and state, and, above all else, the free and open exchange of ideas. Those of us who believe in these things know what is to come. Through our collective efforts and through a coordinated strategy to educate others, we can, without permission, reclaim this world from the ground up. So, please, my friends, join us. I hope you are ready to reimagine 2020.
This goes out to all my OG holders. Legend Gang. Coin Bros. I just woke up in the morning, check that market cap. We up. Shout out to my dog, what you barking at? What up, dog? A package at my door, man, I've been waiting. Hope the UPS guy ready for a conversation. We gon' talk about this crypto if you like it or not. Shut up, Jordan Belfort, bitches, shit ain't in stock. I'm that dude reppin' that blockchain on the block. Talking crypto with my neighbors while they taking a walk. And my girl love talking crypto with me. Got my son straight, ICO picking with me. Legend gang, man, I keep it with me. Better take a long lunch if you with me. We gon' talk about it, we gon' talk about the dip. John McCaffrey told me Bitcoin to $1 million, or he gon' eat his own dick. Ever seen a grown man eat his own dick?
What? No, hell no.
We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear about it. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear about it.
I'll be talking crypto when I'm taking a piss. I'll be talking crypto in the Uber or Lyft. Talking crypto when my daughter's making the wish. I'll be talking crypto when I'm taking a seat on the bus, riding to a meetup. I'm talking like-minded people there to greet us. I'm talking Krispy Kremes, endless margaritas, man. I'll be talking crypto to the dude in the mall cleaning sneakers. This is peer-to-peer, ain't got time for waiting. This is peer-to-peer, don't need no bank statement. I got the QR, tenant for that fast payment.
Ooh, that's not matching up right. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear. We talking crypto, 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 we talking crypto. Ain't no doubt about it, if you come around us, you gon' hear about it.
Yeah, we the coin bros, all we talk is that crypto, baby. So if you ain't about that, get the F out my face, dog.
We talking crypto, we talking crypto. 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 Ain't no doubt about it. If you come around us, you gon' hear about it.
We talking crypto. We talking crypto.
Look at the camera. Say we talking crypto.
Oh, hi there, lads and lassies. I am Scotty MacDonald, and it's time for another spooky crypto vocabulary lesson brought to you by Reimagine 2020. Atomic swap. An atomic swap is a method employed within crypto networks that allows users to exchange assets directly into other assets straight from their wallets without a centralized exchange. In other words, an atomic swap is the method by which currencies can be exchanged in a decentralized way. Incidentally, atomic swap is also the method I use to transform on the full moon. The more you know.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tyler Olson. I am one of your hosts here at Reimagine 2020, as well as the creative director. Welcome back to Reimagine 2020 virtual events. We are now on our fourth event. This theme is Tales from the Crypto. At least for those in the Western world or here in the United States, this is a play on Halloween. And so we're trying to touch on this theme of some of the spookiest or the scariest moments in the world of cryptocurrency and blockchain. If you haven't had a chance, you should go back to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of the relevant channels on social media, Twitter and Instagram. You can check out some of the events that have showcased our industry partners and university students that we have onboarded over the last couple years. And it's really a good time here. So we are appreciative of you. We're glad that you could join us again. Today, joining me is Lucas Huang, who is head of growth at TokenLawn. Lucas, how are you? Where are you in the world right now?
Yeah, good. Hi, everyone. This is Lucas from TokenLawn. Thanks, Tyler, for inviting me to be here. Very happy to be here today. I'm currently in Chicago, but our team, they are mostly in Singapore and China. We are just working remotely because of this COVID thing.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Like, we have some of our team is in Singapore as well. And we have some people in Thailand. And in fact, it's kind of like I would imagine that a lot of people working in this space, or not just in crypto and blockchain, but a lot of people working in any kind of industry that sort of allows them to connect through the internet would be distributed. But that is to say, a lot of our team is distributed, and we have some in Singapore as well. So, Lucas, as the tradition stands here for us at Reimagine 2020, before we get into our conversation, I think it's always good that we hear a little bit of testimony and how people kind of got into this space. One of the things that we here at Mouse Belt, at least on our university side, like to focus on is education, right? We think that one of the biggest hurdles for blockchain and cryptocurrency, at least with respect to mass adoption and sort of the sort of global community understanding what's going on here, we think that it's pertinent that people sort of have the resources available to them to sort of learn what's going on. And a part of that is hearing the diverse range of people that have gotten into this space. So that's why we always like to hear a little bit about how individuals have sort of worked their way here. So Lucas, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you come from? How did you sort of stumble upon the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain world? And how did that land you with TokenLawn today?
Yeah, for sure. So the first time I heard about Bitcoin was in 2013, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. And because almost all the news coverage was pretty negative, so I didn't pay much attention until Coinbase launched and they received funding from A16Z, which is a VC I respect a lot. But I just started to pay some time to learn about it, but I didn't really decided to do anything career-wise related to crypto. And it was until 2016 I first learned about Ethereum. At that time, I was in school studying computer science, doing my graduate degree. And I learned about Ethereum from my friends, and I just went down the rabbit hole like many others. And I decided to go full-time in crypto. So after I graduate, I joined a team called Kyber Network. They are also building a decentralized exchange. So I spent 2 years time there. And then I heard about my friends, that's in early 2019, I heard about my friends working at Token Wallet, which is the most popular wallet in Asia, mobile wallets. They are building a next generation decentralized exchange called TokenLawn, and they are trying to solve some of the most challenging issues in the space. So I was really excited. We know each other very well, so I decided to join the team. So that's how I'm here today, leading the growth for TokenLawn.
Awesome. Now, before we get to what TokenLawn is doing, maybe you care to share a little bit about kind of what what was attractive to you about Ethereum? You know, like, I think the way that the narrative goes is that Bitcoin is kind of this, it's the sort of first application of blockchain, right? It's a very simple way of doing more or less one, right? It serves one function. It's a way of transferring value on a peer-to-peer network, right? It's supposed to be electronic cash. And then you have Ethereum introduced to the space, which is supposed to add something to that, right? It adds smart contracts. And so there's supposed to be this more complicated functionality. And you had mentioned that Ethereum was kind of one of the first things that sort of really drew you in. What was it about Ethereum, and maybe not just Ethereum, but the sort of potential that you saw in that kind of blockchain? What was it about that you thought was going to sort of shake things up? What is it about Ethereum that you were attracted to over something like, say, Bitcoin?
So I think the concept that attracted me the most to Ethereum is that it's a world computer. It's like Bitcoin is decentralized, but it allows you to do a lot more, because you can have a smart contract, you can write your own code, and all different decentralized applications, they will be able to work together to provide a certain use cases for the users. So it has a very good composability between all these steps. So all this, it is like open a door to something totally new to me. So I was really excited. At the early days, I was in the Reddit community, and I saw the people developing on Ethereum. They are very enthusiastic. So all this stuff, they moved me and made me so excited about this.
Yeah, you know, the community is definitely excited, and I know that especially with this impending Ethereum 2.0 launch, it's going to exacerbate that excitement. Anyways, so okay, you saw that Ethereum was exciting because the sort of smart contract integration to their blockchain was, you know, taking things to the next level, was going to allow a whole new sort of, I guess, aspect of the financial banking space, if you will, right? Lending and borrowing. What is it that led you to Kyber on the shoulders of that interest, right? What was your sort of interest in Kyber?
Yeah, I think there are two main reasons. First is that at the early days, I was also in a, I'm not only on Reddit, I was also in some Chinese crypto discussion chat group on WeChat. And at early, it's that the summer of 2017, Kyber was preparing their token sale, and they need someone to who know Chinese and English and can understand the technology to help them to explain the concepts to their Chinese community. And so that's why I first learned about the team and decided to help them on part-time purpose, because I was still starting at school. And after learning more and more about Kyber, I feel that decentralized liquidity is pretty important to the future of decentralized economy, because having the decentralized liquidity, it is like the cornerstone of many use cases. For example, for the lending and borrowing we are talking about today, and also in the future, maybe more and more payment use cases. For example, if you have a, for example, KNC token, and you want to pay a merchant, and merchant only accepts stablecoin like USDT or USDC, then you will require a decentralized liquidity network in the backend to convert your token to the token that merchant accepts. So I think decentralized liquidity is pretty important, and it may be the earliest one that will get attraction. So I thought it was pretty interesting and decided to go with Kyber full time.
Yeah, and we can get to that in just a moment, just kind of the importance of sort of decentralized exchanges and applications that merchants can use to, I guess, convert in real time, right, at point of sale, certain cryptocurrencies that their sort of users may want to pay for their products in, but they may not want to accept. We can get to that in a moment, but I appreciate you sharing what you have so far. Maybe now we can say a little bit about what Token Lawn is doing, right? So we sort of hear kind of about your interest in the space generally, kind of what sort of really got your engines revving. Now, what are you doing with Token Lawn? And then what is Token Lawn doing in general, right? What is the sort of role that Token Lawn has taken on for helping the development and growth of this space?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm doing the growth at Token Lawn. So basically, it's everything that is not technical, not software, not development, that stuff. And Token Lawn is a if you are not familiar with Token Lawn is a decentralized exchange using a unique RFQ model, and we are doing pretty well this year, and also thanks to the DeFi summer. Currently, for the past few weeks, we are doing about more than $30 million volume a day. So that makes us one of the top 5 decentralized exchange by volume, and we what made us more proud is that we onboarded more than 100K user since our launch in April 2019. So I think probably we have the second most users across all the DeFi applications.
Well, so the second, like, how does that compare to other decentralized exchanges in the region that you're working with?
I think in the region, or if we say in the Asia, because we are based in Asia, I guess we are definitely the top one DeFi application by the user. And the main reason is that we are natively integrated in the mToken wallet. We have other channels like API and websites, but most of our users, they are coming from mToken wallet. We did a lot of optimization to provide a very best mobile experience for our users. And for the users in Asia, they may be different from users in the West. They are very mobile first. If they can use an application on mobile, I guess most of them, they will go mobile instead.
Yeah. Now, okay, so then you're working in the world of decentralized exchanges. As I mentioned at the outset, right? Mouse Belt, Reimagine, our team we sort of started out, or one of the things that became very prominent in our sort of business development was education, right? We have this university program where we try to onboard students at major universities all around the world. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do that is because we noticed that a lot of people are are unaware of digital currencies, and moreover, the sort of technological context in which that's taking place, right? So sort of what blockchain is and why immutable ledgers are important for them as people that live in, society, right?
Mhm.
With that said, we have an emphasis on education. So what I'm inviting you to sort of consider is how do we want to explain to people what a decentralized exchange is? Because you mentioned that you're working in the world of decentralized exchanges, right? This is kind of coming back to that point. For people who may be unaware of what those are, right? What is a decentralized exchange? And maybe in answering that question, you can say something about how that concept is leveraged against a centralized exchange, right? What is an exchange? What is a centralized exchange? What is a decentralized exchange?
Yeah, for sure. So exchange is definitely a platform, a place that user can exchange one of their assets for another. And decentralized exchange is a place user can do the exchange, but but they can keep their custody of their own assets. So they do not need to deposit their funds into a platform before they start trading. Therefore, they do not need to withdraw as well. And the transaction is settled on-chain, so it's transparent. And we know there are some central exchanges, they are doing shady things, they are using users' funds on other purposes and expose users' funds in some unnecessary risk. And there could be hacks as well. And there could be back actors in the central exchange as well. So using decentralized exchange, we are able to help the users to avoid those kind of risks. And because you mentioned education, we found that when we talk to the users, it would be pretty hard to explain technically what a decentralized exchange is. It would be a lot easier. We share them what the benefits are, but provide their then additional information if they want to learn about the technical sides. And we also found that some people they just don't, some users they actually don't really interested in why this is decentralized or things like that. They come to us not because we are decentralized. It's just because we are so easy to use. They store their assets with wallets, and when they see an opportunity for trade, they just want to act on it quickly. Then using a decentralized exchange, you can just trade within your wallet, allow you to act very quickly on the market information, things like that. So we actually did a lot of things to make the process more smooth for those kind of people. So for example, for the users who use traditional centralized exchange, it may be hard for them to understand why on decentralized exchange they will need Ether for the gas cost, and why they will need to do the token authorization before actually trading a token. So what we did was that for the users, if they want to trade, we combine the token authorization and trade transaction into a single step on the front end. So the user, they won't notice the token authorization. And also even the user do not have enough Ether for a trade, because we saw some people, they withdraw USDT to their wallets and want to, and sometimes they want to trade on token loan to another token. And before we introduce this new feature, they always receive an error about you do not have any Ether to start the trade. And a lot of them, they just gave up at the step. So we introduced a new feature that when the user do not have enough Ether, we actually send a little bit Ether to that user's address. And then user can make the trade, but we deduct that fee, the Ether, in the equivalent token from the token they receive. So we are able to not losing money by providing this feature, but also provide a much smoother variance experience for the user who used the Decentral exchange first time.
Amazing. Now, what sort of assets do you support on the TokenLawn platform? Is it all ERC20? Is it interoperable between chains? I mean, what's the asset class that you're supporting there?
So right now we only support Ethereum tokens, so mainly ERC20, but we are also supporting a BTC packed Ethereum token called MBTC, which is ERC 777. But currently we only support Ethereum tokens. But in the next year, we do plan to explore cross-chain decentralized exchange solutions, because we do see users having that demand, and we want it to provide a complete experience to our users. Because if user want to trade DOT or Litecoin, then right now they will still have to go to a centralized exchange because they cannot trade on token. But I think it was mentioned that at least for BTC, because we are supporting WBTC, which is a BTC packed Ethereum token, we kind of are utilizing those kind of solutions to be able to meet some of our users' demand.
Yeah, sounds great. Now, what do you think is one of the competitive edges that TokenLawn has over other decentralized exchanges in the space, especially those that are building on Ethereum, such as, you know, Uniswap and all these other hyped decentralized swap exchanges? What does TokenLawn, what's the competitive edge that y'all have over something else? Is it the fact that you're, you know, you had mentioned earlier, one of the features that you're working into the product or the platform is if a user doesn't have the funds to pay for their gas, right, y'all pull from a community fund that kind of can support that. Is that the only thing, or what would you say is another competitive edge that y'all have over other decentralized exchanges, especially in the space of Ethereum?
Sure, I think that's a pretty good question. And actually, like current token was launched in April 2019. And actually before that, the team was working on decentralized exchange integrations already. The team helped to integrate, helped develop 2 decentralized exchanges natively integrated in the mToken wallet. The first one is a traditional order book 0x relayer, which is powered by 0x protocol. And another one is a swap experience DEX, but powered by Kyber network. And these 2 exchanges was launched in early 2018. And from that 1 year of operation, we received lots of feedbacks from our users complaining about the inconvenience or there are different kinds of complaints. So we looked into these complaints, and I can just make a few examples here. People will say their order always failed, or they receive a different amount than when the order is settled, they receive a different amount than the quoted amount. And the root cause of this is that the order, for example, for that DEX powered by Kyber network, it is because the order can be front run by arbitragers. If you see a good trade, a good price, it's possible there could be an arbitraging bot monitoring the price, and when they see the good price, they pay a higher cost gas fee to front run you. So as the result, you receive a different amount in return, and usually the worst price. And this is not only to Kyber, it's also to almost all the AMMs, for example, like Uniswap and Balancer or Curve. So the way we solved this was using our unique RFQ design, which is doing off-chain RFQ or off-chain matching and on-chain settlements. By doing the off-chain matching, we're able to specify the trade amount in the order our market maker and the user finds. So our user always gets exact amounts they saw in the quote. So that was a big improvement for the user. And also people will say the spread was too wide. The price we offer was not competitive to those on the central exchange. And the root cause for that was the capital efficiency for market makers or for the liquidity providers is not that high. So for example, for Kyber, to market make Kyber's market maker, they will need to, for each price update, they will need to send a on-chain transaction. So this will be some additional costs, overheads for their market making. And also for Uniswap, I think Uniswap currently have almost 3 billion funds staked for providing liquidity, and their average volume for the past few days was around 200 million. 200 million is already a lot of volume in the DEX space, but compared to the funds they use to providing liquidity, which is 2 billion, this is not very impressive. But for Tokenlon, our market makers, right now they are using probably around $3 million, but they are able to support 60 million volume a day. So that's a very good capital efficiency for them. So they earn more profits, they are able to provide more competitive rates to our users. There are many more other examples, but I will save some time here. Again, I can share it later, or if the audience is interested, they will have an article about this. They can go to our blog and check it out.
Yeah, maybe you can spell that out. Where can the audience visit your blog, or where can they learn more about some of the things that you just said, in addition to Tokenlon in general?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the audience can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter is @TokenlonDex. From time to time, we share some improvements we made, and we compare our experience to other DEX. And if you want to go to the article I just mentioned, you can go to our Medium blog. You can just search on Medium for Tokenlon, and we have several articles there explaining why our design is better.
Great. Now, before we kind of close out here in a couple minutes, as I mentioned earlier, our theme for this event is Tales from the Crypto, and depending on where you are in the world, that rings of Halloween vibes, right? And what that means is spooky, scary tales, stories, if you will. So, Lucas, let me start by asking you, what do you think in general has been one of the scariest moments for the space, or maybe in particular, what has been one of the scariest moments for you in your experience in the blockchain crypto
Hmm.
world?
Yeah, I think the scariest experience for me definitely was in 2019, early 2019. There was a Binance hack. I think 27 or 20 something $1 million was hacked from Binance, and the Binance have to pause the trading and the withdrawal. At that time, um, I I store my Ethereum tokens in my wallet, but I also had some Bitcoin and Litecoin at the moment uh, in early 2019, and I was actually putting them on Binance. So it was pretty nervous for me. I didn't know if the hack was only that amount or it's going to be a lot larger. If it is going to be the case like Mountain Gox, I'm going to if that is the case, I'm going to lose all my funds there. So let's also resonate with what we are doing here uh, on Token Loan, which is building a decentralized exchange. I just hope in the future the decentralized exchange can really go mainstream and provide cross-chain trading experience so that they can really keep the full custody of their assets and no need to worry about the centralized hack anymore.
Yeah, exchange hacks are definitely a scary phenomenon. You know, you were mentioning earlier, and I'm speaking to those of you who may not have caught it before. Lucas was mentioning that one of the perks of a decentralized exchange is that users can maintain full custody over their private keys, right? They can really own they can fully own the assets that they're trading on such exchanges because well, it's just in the nature of a decentralized exchange that you can do that. And so when you exchange your assets, or if you purchase assets on a centralized exchange, one of the things that we mean when we talk about a centralized exchange is that there is a single entity or a group of people, right? The exchange itself that is holding the keys to the wallets of your assets, right? So when you get hacked on a centralized exchange, it's especially scary because it means that the hacker now has access to the keys that open and control the wallets of your assets. So people, make sure that you look into decentralized exchanges, learn about holding your private keys, because this is the future and it will avoid many scary tales, as you've just heard. Okay, Lucas, now to sort of stick with that question, but to kind of shift the emphasis a little bit. What do you think is one of the scariest things for regulators all over the globe, whether that be in Asia, in sort of Europe, in the United States, South America, right? Regulators all over the globe, what do you think that they're most scared of? What do you think is the most terrifying thing for regulators or for the powers that be when it comes to cryptocurrencies and blockchain based digital currencies?
Yeah. So I think for regulators, the most scary thing for them probably will be that when the crypto is starting to gain more and more traction, starting going mainstream, but they don't really understand it. Because crypto, just like internet, can be very two-sided. Criminal can use it, but people can also use it to make a lot of good things. So if regulator, they don't understand it and seeing it's gaining traction, but they only see the bad sides, they may just try to kill it or release regulations that are very favorable. So I think it would be good if like the people work in the space, they can try to have a more conversation with the regulators, help them understand the good things people do with crypto and how this can potentially benefit them, benefit the economy in the future. I believe that will be very important. Otherwise, if they don't really understand the space, it will be hard for them to regulate.
Yeah, I agree. Now, before we go here, because we're starting to run out of time, I have one last question for you, Lucas.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that I always try to keep in mind when I'm, for instance, interacting on my social media channels or, at a family event or something like that is how, in the event that somebody asks me about cryptocurrencies and kind of why I think it's important, right? How am I going to answer those questions? So my last question before we go here to you is, what do you have to say to those people that may be more unfamiliar with this space than you and I or other people that are viewing? What do you have to say to such people about the potential of this technology? Why should they care to learn more about it, and how can they get involved?
So usually when I talk to my family members about space, I don't really, I try to talk about decentralization, but honestly, it's very hard for them to understand and why it is important. So I usually say it's a technology that can help you to save money in many use cases, and in the future maybe help you to gain better return on your capital. So one of the example I usually use is that the cross-border transfer. Because I was born and raised in China, and I came to United States for my college. So cross-border transfer is a thing we're familiar with. Like every semester, my family need to wire money from China to United States, and it cost. I still remember it cost $30 per transfer, no matter what's the size of the transfer, even it's just $2,000. But this is also what made me very impressive with Ethereum, because the first time I transfer Ethereum from one wallet to another, it's just so cheap and fast. Because when we were doing transfer with bank, it takes 1 or 2 business days for the balance to show up on your account. But for Ethereum, compared to the bank, it's almost instant. So this is a use case that's my family members, they can understand, and and it really get them interested about why this can probably save you money and make you money in the future. For example, in the lending and borrowing case.
Yeah. So cross-border payments, people. We're talking about an internet of money here, as Andreas Antonopoulos might have put Bitcoin once upon a time. We're also talking about low fees relative to the current systems that are in place, though I'm sure many people would beg to differ on that front, especially when it comes to Ethereum gas fees, but that's a conversation for another time. Lucas Wang, head of growth at TokenLawn. Thank you so much for joining me today to sort of chat a little bit about kind of what you got going on, what TokenLawn's doing in the world of decentralized exchanges. Maybe you can say once again, where can people find out about TokenLawn? A website, social media handles?
Yeah, sure. If you want to follow TokenLawn, you can go to our Twitter at TokenLawnDex, and you can. And if you haven't tried out TokenLawn, you are welcome to visit our website, which is tokenloan.in. And I personally would recommend you to download imtoken wallet and try TokenLawn there, because it is the best mobile decentralized exchange experience out there. We did a lot of optimization of mobile.
Great. All right. Well, Lucas, thank you so much for joining me again. I'm Tyler Olson, Creative Director at Reimagine 2020. Thank you all for tuning in to Reimagine 4.0 Tales from the Crypto. We'll see you.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, everyone.
Right on. Lucas, thank you so much, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was great talk.
Bonjour, I am Jean-Paul Pierre, and it is time for another spooky crypto vocabulary lesson brought to you by Reimagine 2020. DEX. DEX is a pronounced acronym that stands for Decentralized Exchange. Unlike a centralized exchange, where a company or a small group of developers act as a mediating entity between exchanges, a decentralized exchange allows distributed communities to pool liquidity, and the exchanges between currencies are settled through smart contracts on a blockchain. Additionally, many users prefer DEXs because when using them, they can hold their own private keys, private keys, as opposed to having a centralized exchange hold on to them. How was that? Was I spooky? No? Zut alors.
a millionaire too. Check the OP, what did he do? Gas in his bag so they go to the moon. Spent half an eighth, I got 1,000,000 coins like the real McCoy. You know I feel that joy, cause if it goes to a buck I won't believe my luck. And now 10 on my Lambos for me and my friends. Butterfly doors but I'm Marty and Doc. Trump is like Biff from my squad on the block. Jamming with a hold alive. Chat rooms we scroll at night. Bitcoin Ether been told twice. Now I hold my ish like it's Moldavite. Going to the stars cause it's only right. Read the white paper or sold that side. Now I steal my shit coins cause I'm overhyped. We can't get take the pressure. Cashing out for you was tether. My craft ship shape as she sails through stormy weather. With pleasure, come with me on this endeavor. I will be smoking fat joints on Italian leather. Crypto fam, welcome to Lamboland. Crypto fam, hot racing like ambulance. Crypto fam, welcome to Lamboland. Crypto fam, hot racing like ambulance. This goes out to my crypto squad and the crypto gods. Blockchain clearing that fiscal clog. Rolling through town like the Frisco fog. Push the button, bought some coins. Now push the button, start my whip. Used to push my feet through the tenderloin. Now I'm pushing this spaceship. Some thought it was a bubble. Now vision doubled. Wishing they had taken the trouble. Hardware wallets, private keys, no more paper and duffels. Bank staying puzzle. Now I'm going for hikes. Have a mountain sex. My returns just hit 10,000x. Used to be humble. Now I proudly flex. Should I fly to Dubai or Saudi next? And I only cashed out part of my assets. Hodled to my last breath. Not the one to half step. It's so strange. Wealth is like a rebirth. Clawed my way out of debt. Fueled by my research. Crypto fam, welcome to Lamboland. Crypto fam, hot racing like ambulance. Crypto fam, welcome to Lamboland. Crypto fam, hot racing like ambulance.
Greetings, decentralized citizens of the interweb. As I told you before, the time of destructive centralized monopolies over our world currencies is coming to a halt. The intentional destruction of money by our fanciful world leaders and their lack of sound economic understanding and compassion for human rights is no longer our only fate. Decentralized finance is on the rise, and it's coming stronger and stronger by the day to help people reclaim what is rightfully theirs. Make sure you're on the right side of history. The clock is ticking. I hope you're ready to reimagine finance after the year 2020.
Hello there, welcome to this workshop on Oasis ETH. So let me introduce Oasis ETH. If you go to this oasiseth.org website, you will see quite a lot of information here. There's a white paper, some information about a token. There's a tab here called Uniswap. We're going to be dealing primarily with that today. We're actually going to be creating an ERC20 smart contract token and deploying that on the Oasis mainnet beta. So just before we start, I'd just like to mention here that there's a section called node operators. And if you click on this link here, essentially anyone is welcome to become a node operator and earn Oasis ETH awards. If you click on this link, you'll see some information how to become a node operator. There's documentation here about setting up the software. So you can go ahead and have a look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to this Uniswap section here and have a look at this example here. So the first thing that it's recommending to do is to install some wallet software. And in our case, we're going to be using MetaMask. So let's go ahead and look at that now. So MetaMask here in the browser as a Chrome extension. What we're going to do is, first of all, go and create a custom network. So we're on this Oasis ETH mainnet beta. So this is the RPC URL that you have to put in. So if you go into that section there, custom RPC, you paste in that URL, the network name, we'll call this Oasis mainnet. Okay, and the chain ID is 69, and the symbol is OETH, OETH, the network token. All right, so we save that. Now, essentially, this wallet software is aware of the Oasis ETH mainnet. Okay, so now let's talk about accounts in this. So we have just a few accounts in here. What we're going to do is create a new account for this demonstration. So we'll give this account a name. We'll call it Tim. We click create. So now we have this new account with no network tokens in it. And here's the address up here. So the way to get some tokens is we take the address of that newly created account and we click on this Oasis ETH faucet here. And by pasting your address into this section, you'll receive one free Oasis ETH network token. And that's of course going to show up in the wallet software very soon. But just while that's working, we'll just talk about the next step, and that's to actually go ahead and create an ERC20 token and then deploy that on the Oasis network. And then we're going to go and use the Uniswap exchange protocol to trade that. Okay, so let's have a look at the wallet here on this newly created Tim account. Okay, so there's one Oasis ETH in there, so that's perfect. All right, now the section that we'll do next is we'll go and have a look at this free online smart contract development environment. And this allows you to not only write smart contract code, but also to compile it and also to deploy it. So there's a couple of sections here that we need to configure. In this section down here, if you click on the link from the page I was just on, you'll see that the information relating to the Oasis ETH mainnet beta is already pre-filled in here, so there's nothing for you to do. That's the RPC endpoint, that's the chain ID, same as that we put into the MetaMask wallet. So that's all ready to go. If not, you can just set that up manually. Now, the other important section is this accounts section. So every time you come to this build tool, it will actually just generate by itself a handful of accounts to use. What we're going to actually do is take this account that we created in MetaMask, and we're going to look at the account details. We're going to click this export private key here. What that's going to do is actually give us our private key. Now, of course, this is a network with a faucet giving away free tokens, and this is a demonstration. So you would never share your private key with anyone, but we're going to just cut and paste it here on this video demo, this free token that we've just received. Now, just notice that this private key starts with 3 CE. We just head over to the build tool. We're going to import a new key, but the important thing that I want to share with you is that you have to start the key with 0x. So the first thing you do is have the prefix 0 lowercase x, and then you go ahead and paste the rest of the key in. And if you click OK, what that'll do is it'll paste it'll place the key in this build tool. And so now we have a new public address here. You can see that this is now the default account for this build environment. So now when we deploy our contract, it's actually going to be deployed by this Tim account, because we've actually gone ahead and exported the account from the MetaMask wallet software and imported it into this software development environment. Okay, so the other thing we're going to do is we need to write some smart contract code for the ERC20 token. But what we're going to do is have a look at this website. So docs.secondstate.io. If you come to this site, the smart contract code has actually already been written for you. So if you just scroll down here on the left-hand side, you'll see here there's a tutorial for one of the Oasis Second State Community Hackathons. Okay, so if you click on that link, number 3, and you just scroll down here, this is actually a tutorial, a written tutorial about how to do this similar task, create and deploy an ERC20 contract. So you'll see here a lot of the steps we're covering are written down in this tutorial as well. And what we want to do is go ahead and click on this link here, which actually goes over to some code. If you click this raw button here, you'll get this smart contract code. And what you can do is simply just paste that into the build tool. And then make sure you come here and just click down, you make the Solidity version 0.4.26 for this to operate properly. Okay. All right, so with this particular token, it has a name called test token, and the symbol is TT1. The decimals, let's make that 18 decimals, and so the total supply here. That's what we want to do. Let's make it like 1,000, so 1,000. And then 18 decimal places after that. Now we compile that. Okay, and that produces the ABI and the bytecode. And ordinarily we'd use that to deploy this contract, you know, using the command line or cutting and pasting or what have you. But this build tool actually goes ahead and deploys this contract to the blockchain by simply clicking this button. The important thing you have to remember is this drop-down list. Because of inheritance, there's a lot of other components that make up this test token contract. So you don't want to deploy any one of these ones up here. These are ultimately inherited and they all culminate into this test token. See how we've got this written down here, contract test token inherits. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure you click test token here and then we click deploy. Okay, sending transaction to the Oasis mainnet beta. And in just a minute, we'll see it's going to give us back an address. So now this address here is actually the address of the ERC20 token contract called test token. Now, one of the things we want to do is put that into our wallet. So the wallet here has an assets tab and we want to add a token. So we click on custom token and we paste the contract address in there. And because the wallet software is set up to be aware of the Oasis mainnet, it'll actually go ahead and detect, oh yeah, there's that contract address and this is a symbol and that's many decimals and so forth. So if you click add tokens, you'll see here that we have the correct amount of tokens assigned. And so we click add, and now we're in this Tim account and we have these test tokens. Okay. Let's close a few windows here. Done with that faucet. All right, so the next thing we want to do now is we want to actually go ahead and trade these tokens on the Uniswap exchange protocol. And part of that is we need to actually create an exchange for this brand new token that we've just created. And we also have to provide some liquidity for that as well. So let's open up the exchange here. Now, the exchange actually connects to the Oasis mainnet via the wallet software. So because we've got the network set up in the wallet software, it's auto detected and we're on the right network there. So if we go to the OETH, I had to go and refresh this account. So we're on this TIM account in the MetaMask wallet. It's got one Oasis ETH and those 1,000 test tokens. And so now the website is actually also seeing that as well. Okay. So we want to go over to this pool tab here now, and we want to create an exchange. Now the token address is the one that we've just had the test token. So we want to click create exchange. So that activity, if you go away from the assets tab and into this activity tab here in MetaMask, you'll see that we've had one transaction to create the exchange. So now obviously the interface here with that token address in is saying that exchange already exists. So that's great. So now we're going to change over to adding liquidity. And so now what we do is we select a token that we'd like to add liquidity to. So the token address is of course that same one. And so now it's giving us a message here. You're the first person to add liquidity. So where the price that we set here is basically the price that it'll begin to trade at, the dollar value of the network token and the dollar value of this new ERC20 token here. So the first thing we do is we have to click unlock, and this allows Uniswap to interact with this new token. So the unlock has worked. We go over to the activity tab and we'll see here that approval function has executed properly. So we might put in here, say 0.5 of the network tokens, and then maybe 500 of the test tokens there. Okay. Okay, so that's giving us an exchange rate here and some information. And if you go into this center section, hover over here and scroll down, you'll see this add liquidity button. So we click that. Okay, we confirm that transaction. And this will come back with the pool share that we have for this test token and Oasis ETH network token combination. Okay, so there we have it. So we've added some liquidity to that pool. Now, if we head back over to the swap tab, and we can now trade. So we've got this network token and we've got our test token. So if we choose to transfer, say 0.1 of these, it'll actually automatically calculate the rate, the ratio here. And if you click on transaction details, you'll see here the finer details of this transaction. So we'll go ahead and click swap. So now we're trading on Uniswap. Click confirm. And so that balance will decrease and we'll have these tokens here increase. So now our balance is 583, which is correct. All right, so we'll try another bit of functionality here. We'll go over to the send tab. And what this allows us to do is trade tokens, but also to actually send the result of the trade off to another address. So let's use a little example here. So if we go into this accounts list here, and there's this test account over here. If we take that address and paste it into our clipboard, then what this TIM account might like to do is say we want to pay that person and they want to receive the Oasis ETH network token. So in this, we'll select Oasis ETH, but we might have some of this test token and we would like to pay them in that. So we might give them 10 of those. It's then converted to the network token that this recipient wants to receive it in. So what we do is go ahead and do a swap and send, essentially. in the same transaction. The balance here being 583.12. And then that's swapped and sent off. Now we have 573. And now this other account actually has some network tokens being paid to it. Now, the other things you can do, of course, at the end is we've created a new exchange and we've added liquidity and we've swapped and sent. And the last thing that you could do is remove that liquidity back out of the pool. And so we click on this token, we would basically go ahead and take steps to remove our liquidity. And that is about the end of the demonstration. So please go ahead and check out the oasiseth.org website. There's plenty of information there. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, please get in touch. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's the Crypto Twins. I'm Litecoin Lucy.
And I'm Tammy Tezos. Trading can be hard, but we're here to give you some important tips. The Bitcoin halving will always give you 2. How do you think we got here?
Hi there, I'm Dr. Fauci Nakamoto. We all know accidents happen. For example, you might have accidentally forgotten to convert all of your directly deposited fiat into cryptocurrency. And that's okay. I'm reminding you that when all else fails, there's always Plan B for Bitcoin.
Crypto was a thing.
We ain't going nowhere.
We the OG Ledger gang.
Ledger gang, ledger gang, ledger gang.
We stay rockin' in the chain.
Blockchain.
Auto crypto be the main.
BTFD.
See the ledger swinging from my neck. Y'all already know what I rep. Stacking that crypto, we gaining no haters. There's really no flexing, be wet. Splash. I can go anywhere with it. Don't matter the number, there really no limit. Really no limit, there really no limit. Ooh, yeah, get it. Know that I get it. Did you know that I get it? Load the bit, pay, yeah, spend it. You know the private key is authentic? Know that I get it. Did you know that I get it? Load the bit, pay, yeah, spend it. You know the private key is authentic?
Y'all thought crypto was a fake.
We ain't going nowhere.
We the OG Ledger Gang.
Let your gang, let your gang, let your gang.
We stay rocking in the chain.
Blockchain,
Auto crypto be the main.
BTFD.
Man, crypto's a bubble. When it pops, you in trouble. What you gonna do when the government kick in the door and start taking it from you?
Man, crypto ain't a bubble, please. Tell me how they gonna get my private keys. The government can't keep an eye on me. I mean, you act like you don't want privacy.
Yeah, but what's a Bitcoin really? I mean, it seems so silly. So what you trying to tell me is banks are about to fall flat on their belly?
Yup, that's what I'm trying to explain. This is peer-to-peer, global exchange. In this world, banks ain't running the game. Border to border, blockchain, blockchain.
Tell me what you know about the blockchain. Gas limit set low octane. Taking down the banks, we are not playing. Bitcoin and fiat, we are not the same.
Y'all thought crypto was a fake.
We ain't going nowhere.
We the OG Ledger Gang.
Let your gang, let your gang, let your gang.
We stay rocking in the chain.
Blockchain,
Auto crypto be the main.
BTFD.
Y'all thought crypto was a fake.
We ain't going nowhere.
We the OG Ledger Gang.
Let your gang, let your gang, let your gang.
We stay rocking in the chain.
Blockchain,
Auto crypto be the main.
BTFD.
Hi everyone, welcome to Reimagine 2020. I'm one of your hosts, Arthur. Today I have with me Matthew Graham, CEO and founder of Sino Global Capital. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you, Arthur. Pleased to be here today.
Thanks for coming. So why don't we just get right in? Tell me about your background and how did you first get into crypto?
Sure. So my post-MBA background is sell-side investment banking for international companies that have very unique needs for the mainland China market for strategic partnership and investment. So first, I worked at a boutique investment bank managing their international business, and then I founded my company, Sino Global. The concept was always that we would very naturally and organically develop one or more sector competencies, and very much in line with that, we quickly became increasingly focused on the blockchain sector, and before launching our own fund and going full in on the industry. So I've been in China about 8 years, and that's our in addition to blockchain, that's our key competency, bridging international best of breed projects to the mainland China market.
That's fascinating. I'd really like to kind of understand a little bit more about that, because I guess just like the internet, the Chinese crypto market is also very isolated from the Western one, and very rarely do either sides get a glimpse of the other side. Sure. What would you say are kind of like the main or the most important like differences in the mentalities and trends between these two?
So I do think, first of all, that there is a kind of bifurcation that you, in the way that you alluded to. It's not as extreme yet as with traditional internet, so to speak, where we have, Google and Baidu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not quite that extreme, probably for many reasons, not yet anyway, but for sure it's bifurcated. I think it can be difficult to make those kinds of generalizations, but certainly there are I mean, the short answer is it's complicated, but I would say this, that in traditional internet, the Chinese companies already are, in my view, at least as technologically proficient and business model proficient as the Western companies. When I use WeChat, for example, that's at an absolute minimum, that's a technology, a platform that's equivalent in quality to Western products. With in the blockchain sector, it's still a little bit more of a mixed bag. Chinese in blockchain mining, in crypto mining, that is to say, are world class. In some other types of projects, it still tends to be more geoforks and things like that. It's really a very complicated landscape. But I do think two things. First of all, I share the concern that that many people have, that there could be an increasing bifurcation, as with the traditional internet, where we have two separate ecosystems. I hope that won't happen, but I share that concern. And then the second thing, I for sure agree that there's different relationship networks already, and there's a lot of information asymmetry, things like that, in terms of international blockchain and China blockchain.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say? So I guess it's now starting to become like pretty clear what the value proposition of like cryptocurrencies are in the Western markets. This sort of like be your own bank, and sort of this anti-central bank kind of mentality. What is the sort of what is the popular kind of value proposition for crypto in China?
Sure. So I believe there's also an element of that, but that philosophical strain tends to be less pronounced, I think, and there does tend to be more emphasis on the speculative elements. I would phrase it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's one of the kind of
the ultra libertarian be your own bank type thing. I mean, that does exist, but it's not as influential, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's more for very, very hardcore participants in the crypto scene, and even then, not even necessarily all of them. It's less pronounced for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like speculation is something that crypto is very, very good at, right? it's a great platform for that.
Well, that's certainly true for better or for worse. That's just a fact of life, I think.
What would you say? What makes kind of how do you even approach like crypto investing in a sort of because as an investor, how do you make kind of like multi-year investments in an industry or in a sector that seemingly kind of changes like directions and trends multiple times a year? How do you kind of like maintain like a level compass?
That's a good question. I think, by the way, many people don't. I think they opt out of that, including so-called crypto VCs. So they end up having a much shorter time frame instead of a traditional VC cycle of up to 7 years even. They would have a cycle that looks more like 6 months. We tend to not do that. We tend to have a much more traditional approach. But for sure, what you say is true. Everything is speeded up in crypto. I think that the one way more than anything else that we handle that is we really look for people that so crypto is an extreme industry, and especially in China, that's also an extreme market. So you have extreme to the power of extreme. We handle that by looking. We probably are the most conservative people in the craziest industry in the craziest geographic location, which I think is kind of where we want to be. if everything around us is very hectic, we ourselves want to have a very traditional conservative approach. So that's for sure one way that we handle it. And then we look for more traditional teams. We look for people that have background fintech, financial or technology or fintech backgrounds that we would be comfortable investing in. If we were not investing in the blockchain sector, we kind of look for those types of people that we feel comfortable working with for a long-term time horizon, and then knowing that they have the background and the competency and the ethics to be able to pivot in this very extreme industry.
Right. And is this a value proposition that do you find that this value proposition resonates well with potential portfolio companies and founders?
Sure, I do. I think it resonates very, very well in two ways. I do think that unfortunately in our history there's a lot of dump on retail, and that's fundamentally boring to us, and we just don't play that game. So what we're finding is that we're increasingly gaining a reputation where when our name is attached to a project, people know that at least one of the main stakeholders in the project really believes in it for a long-term time horizon. So then that kind of creates a flywheel or maybe an upward spiral type situation where that allows us to having that reputation as a beachhead allows us to increasingly attract high quality projects. It's a self-reinforcing beneficial cycle. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, I do think that we are extremely differentiated in that we provide a window and a point of access to the mainland China blockchain market, which is arguably the most important market in crypto, and B, also the most idiosyncratic and impenetrable. So that's something also that is extremely attractive to potential portfolio companies.
And got it. I mean, I completely agree. I think the sort of how much more could be achieved if people only, could take a slightly more long-term view, right?
There's a famous expression that they use at Goldman Sachs, which I really like, which is just short and sweet. They use the expression "long-term greedy," and that's something that resonates with me. I think it's very smart. Because we are in the business of making money, but I fundamentally believe that the way you are most successful for the long term is by having a long-term mentality and working with the highest quality people that have a similar mentality from all around the world, and doing things in that long-term sustainable manner is really the way to build, as opposed to continually cycling through short-term projects. And you get a reputation very, very quickly if you're always dumping on retail. I think it's an enormous mistake that many people make, probably for many reasons.
Absolutely. And I mean, how can you call yourself like a VC fund if your investment period is like 6 months, right? That's a trader.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of it
is this like a
so
proposition?
traditionally, we have a little bit of latency, and I have a nasty habit of talking over people to begin with. So I'm sorry about that. I'm working on it. But I think part of it is VC traditionally is a occupation where you're trained under a VC for many years and until you're ready, or for a period of years until you're ready. The point I'm trying to make is that in crypto, I think a lot of VCs are people that were early adopters, that are now allocating that capital, things like that. And I do think that there's a lack of formal training and competence sometimes that complicates things. That could be part of why this phenomenon exists. The other part, I suppose, is just being human nature.
And is this like a kind of a proposition, or like a mindset that you're how religious are you about it? Do you kind of go as far as to try to enforce it onto your other kind of like peer investors? Have you made any nemesis
No,
who you used to be in a project together with?
That's a good question. I would phrase it like this. We routinely turn down projects where we think we could make money, but it's very short-term money, and when we're concerned that there could be long-term reputational damage. We do that very frequently, actually. In terms of enforcing it on other investors and peer pressure and things like that, I don't really view that as our role necessarily. Also, both in China and outside of China, we tend to spend as much time as possible with engineers and developers and traditional finance people and things like that. We don't really view. I think the worst allocation of your time, if you're a VC, is hanging out with other VCs. So that's not really
which
where
what they tend to do
wanna
the most,
be
actually, right?
spending our time or our influence. I would much rather be spending all our time with hotshot young developers. So I just fundamentally don't really view that as our role. And even if I did, I don't think that we would necessarily be able to influence people to act differently. In terms of, so I guess the long story short then is we just worry mostly about what we do. We as I mentioned, we do routinely turn down projects for that reason. Being on a cap table with other VCs that sometimes do that, I think that's a more complicated situation. I'm not sure it makes sense to take that extra step, because if we're in it for the long haul, then we don't really care if other VCs are not. We'll just buy more in the secondary market. I don't care. If I believe in a project for 5 years, 10 years, and other people are dumping, I'll buy it on the secondary market. We do that all the time. I don't care. So I think we kind of view it through these lenses.
Got it. I want to ask you for advice.
And by the way, just to
sorry,
put an extra point on that. Sorry to interrupt again. That's something that's fun about both China and crypto. So for traditional VC, you really have a much more constrained mandate. But for being in Asia crypto, you can the mandate is much more flexible, where we can do things such as buying on the secondary market and things like that. To in traditional VC, you do your seed, your A, your B, et cetera, and then you're kind of supporting your portfolio companies and waiting for the next round, which is super fun and super valuable. But your mandate is probably much more constrained. Here we can act in a way sometimes that's more like a hedge fund as part of our very flexible mandate from our LPs, and that's something that's probably unique to Asia crypto. You probably could not do that in most cases. You could not do that even in United States crypto. There are some exceptions where they have more flexible mandates, but the point is that that's something very fun and very unique to Asia crypto. Almost like you can have almost like a VC hedge fund hybrid. Effectively,
and I guess in an industry so new, that becomes or has become like a pretty big competitive advantage to you, right? Like between other funds.
Sure, yeah. If you have super flexible LPs that you've known for many years, and they have an attitude of just go make some fucking money, then that's something that's a competitive advantage for sure. Yeah.
So
As,
I want to
as
ask you
opposed to if you have
for advice
some
from a couple
stodgy
different like
conservative pension
angles.
fund. As opposed to
Sorry,
if
go
you
on.
have a stodgy conservative pension fund that says, look, we only want you to do A and B. If C, D, E, and F can make money, that's not that's outside the scope, et cetera, et cetera. That having that extra optionality is a huge advantage, no question.
Got it. And so I want to ask you for advice from a couple of like different angles. So like wearing different hats. So like, what would be the questions that you think projects raising money from? There's now like it's basically like the number of crypto VC funds is like mushrooms after rain, like we say in Estonia. What are the serious questions that a project should ask from a VC?
So from the project side, what would you want to know about a VC? Is that the question? So I think people should, I would advise people to ask for references more. I think projects are sometimes not aggressive enough about saying, well, who the hell are you? Let me talk to your portfolio companies that you've invested in previously. Give me some names. I want to get on the phone. I would do that if I were a portfolio company. I think that's a super fair ask.
Absolutely.
And what's that?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree.
If I were a best of breed portfolio company, and I was confident that what we've got is world class, absolutely an investor, I want to know, who the hell are you? And you don't use it like that, but you say, look, we would like to talk to some of your portfolio companies, and we would, you do a reference check. It's just like they say when you're, if you're interviewing for a job, right? It should be a two-way interview. It's the same thing. So that's the first way I would approach it. I would approach it as a two-way interview. Don't think of it as we're trying to convince these people to give us money. Think of it as, do we even want money from this particular entity? Because you may not. Really, because of reputation or because of many things. And that leads to the second point then, where I would want to know what kind of support comes with this check. Because it can be a little cliched, but the whole point of venture capital is to have access to skills and Rolodexes and different kinds of capabilities. So you should know what comes with the check. So for example, with our check, we provide, as I mentioned earlier, we provide that window into arguably the most important, but also the most idiosyncratic and impenetrable market in crypto, the mainland China market. So that's what comes with our check. But you should always be doing that two-way interview, asking for references and trying to suss out what comes with the money. If it's just money, you don't want dumb money. You don't want just money. That's not what you want. Not if you're a best of breed project. So I would kind of approach it in that.
Got it. And so now, if I wear a different hat, as a high net worth that is now starting to get convinced on the potential of crypto and wants to get exposure, then essentially I think the natural way to go about it is you find an actively managed fund. But at the same time, I have heard from multiple people that there is this kind of doubt that, like, why would I be paying a management fee for trying to outperform Bitcoin, and there's a risk of underperforming it. What should like a potential LP ask the sort of a massive number of funds pitching to them?
Sure, this is a very good question, And by the way, I think for many people asking that question, it probably would be more appropriate to just hop on, FTX, and if you want exposure to DeFi, buy the DeFi index on FTX, or buy some other kind of index. Buy for most people, I think it'd be more appropriate to just hop on FTX, buy X% Bitcoin, buy X% Ethereum, excuse me, and then buy a DeFi index, something like that. I think for most people, it's more appropriate to approach things in that way.
So it's a self-serve.
Yeah, I do really believe that. I think as you start to talk about greater amounts of money at a certain point, you could say, well, now I want a percentage of that to be for an actively managed fund, VC or otherwise. But the amount of money, I think the bar is quite high. You could hit 50 million bucks before that makes sense, I think. When you hit maybe 50, you want to allocate maybe 10 to actively managed. But before that, I think there's a strong argument to be made that you're better off self-serve. So
coming from you especially, I think that's very valuable advice.
Yeah, most of our LPs fall in that category where they have either, some of them are ultra high net worth, some of them are business entities of one form or another, but they all are at a minimum hundreds of millions net worth in terms of their investment portfolios. That does not include, that's not all crypto, but the point is that you can get to a pretty high number before it makes sense to go in a different direction, I think.
Got it. And now the last hat that I'd wear would be, what would your advice be to, or I guess context-wise, we're starting to see like a bigger and bigger inflow of talent going into crypto as it gets more like validated. What would your advice be to aspiring like entrepreneurs that are looking to kind of get involved in as like a, to start essentially a crypto business?
So by the way, the first thing that's exciting too is that trend is even more pronounced in China. I think previously in China, I think almost all the high-end talent went to, Alibaba, Tencent, et cetera, et cetera. I think crypto was fundamentally viewed as too dodgy, frankly. It's hard to explain to your parents. I turned down Alibaba to go into crypto, and they're going to be like, you did what? I just financed your overseas education, and you're going to do what the fuck? So previously it was a non-starter, I think, for most of the high-end talent, and that's changing very rapidly as a result of the Chinese government kind of anointing blockchain as a strategic industry in the same fashion as 5G or AI, et cetera, et cetera. Plus also the People's Bank of China with the DCEP, the digital currency. Multiple factors, and now that high-end talent is in blockchain, is considering blockchain as at least an option. So by the way, that's a trend that's even more pronounced in China that we're super excited about. And then the next thing, how to get started, I think really on either the investor side or the developer side, I think when you have an industry that's still fundamentally very, very early, if you were to compare it to the internet, I think we're still like, from a US internet perspective, I think it's still comparable to like 1993. This is like not even AOL, this is like Prodigy and CompuServe, and then a couple of years later comes AOL, And then a couple of years later, Jeff Bezos quits his high-flying Wall Street job and starts Amazon. So the point being that this is really, really, really still quite early. And the upside of being so early is that you can get started by just getting started. So the way to learn how to invest is just starting to get into Telegram groups and play with the new projects as they come out and learn step by step, teach yourself. The way and that's true on the project side as well. The way to get started is just playing with the technology and doing little projects and increasingly raising your own bar. And that's the benefit of being in an industry that's so very, very early. It's later in industry's maturation when all the barriers go up and it's like, well, I gotta know a guy that can, or gal that can get me that first interview, and I gotta have all these connections, and I gotta have a Stanford degree or whatever, all that bullshit. The benefit of being so early is you can be like a Wozniak, and you can just, Wozniak got started by just going to I think it was called the Homebrew Computing Club, which was just a weird hobbyist club. And that's how Steve Jobs got started, with a non-traditional background. His background was like a calligraphy major at Reed College or something weird. So when you're so early, you just go. And that's something that, and I think we're very early, and you can still just do that. You just get started. You get in there, you play with product, you start making product, you meet the people. It's still a very small community. That's part of the fun.
Got it. And
10 years from now, you won't be able to get in this industry without all those nonsense. You got to have the connection, or you got to have the fancy degree, things like that. It's just like now, if you want to, you tech is a little different. You could also probably get a job at Google or Facebook just by being just an absolute animal developer. I believe that you could. There's evidence for that. But the point is that 10 years from now, it will be enormously difficult to get started in a real way. But today, you get started just by just going and being an obsessed animal.
Got it. And what are the most kind of common mistakes that you see from projects that come to sort of to pitch to you? What are the are there any sort of deal breakers that keep coming up and up, which you just wish the project would know about to avoid them?
That's a good question. I think there are different types of deal breakers. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a cold today. Excuse me. I think one deal breaker that is a little bit unique to us is that this is something we've seen a lot in 2020 with DeFi, where a project will pitch an aspect of decentralized finance, and they will have all the hotshot developers, but they will not have someone with very deep domain expertise on the financial market side. And we will pass on those deals all day long. I don't believe that, I believe the products are already sophisticated enough where if you have only the development expertise, you could be all hotshot computer scientist types, developer types. If you don't have the financial markets people on your bench, I think you're going to get killed, because you need to have both. And I'm seeing this in multiple aspects of our industry. Another example there's been a lot of talk this week about when you get an audit. If you only have a tech audit and you don't have a business model finance audit, then there's a very high risk you're going to get killed. There are very, very sophisticated, high frequency trader types in our industry now. And even if your code is tight on the development side, if there's a weakness in your economic model, they will find it and they will kill you. So you have to have both the financial markets and the development side on your bench. When you do an audit, same thing. You have to have both. Otherwise, you're at enormous risk for being picked off. We saw that this week, right? There was a high-profile project that got arbed to death because they found a flaw in the economic model. And it was a project that did an audit that had been around for a few months. But if you have a financial market specialist that really takes a very, very close look at the economic model, if they find even one flaw, that could even kill your project. So that's something that we place an enormous emphasis on. I don't care if you're the best developer in the world. If you're doing a sophisticated finance product, even if it's decentralized finance, or especially if it's decentralized finance, you need to have a partner, or you need to yourself have that kind of financial markets expertise, so you can understand how you will be attacked, because it won't be just from like a hacking standpoint. It will be from an economic model standpoint. You for sure will get attacked in both ways. So that's an example of something where we an example of something we look at extremely closely, that I is somewhat unique to us, but I believe in very, very strongly.
Got it. And I guess my next question is like slightly related to this, but what are the trends that you are most excited about and least excited about that you see today in the industry?
So I think that this is a tougher question to answer. I think that for us, we look a lot at teams because we know that people will pivot, and we know the industry is changing so quickly. That's the first point that I would make. The second point that I would make is we get very nervous about anything related to regulatory. That's why we weren't very interested in STOs. We think these lawyers and regulators will just crush you over time. And so if you're going to tell me that something, and then question mark is going to happen, and then you'll need 3 regulators, if it's regulatory, we get very, very uncomfortable. I'm skeptical on that. And then I guess the third point that I would make is we place an enormous emphasis on optionality. So, for example, when we look at NFTs, we think there's a lot of potential there. We think that it's enormously difficult to speculate where value ultimately will come from. Will it come from digital art, digital music on the copyright side? Will it come from digital tickets for events? Will it come from it could be any number of things in terms of NFTs. One of the most promising, I think, is for in-game collectibles, things like that. But we think it's very, very difficult to say where it's going to come from. So we look for teams that preserve optionality. They have a plan that they're going to be open-minded about how NFTs or whatever aspect of blockchain develops, and they're prepared to pivot. So that's something that's very important to us, because when you look at something that's earlier in its development cycle, you have to anticipate that it's going to really change a lot over time. So this is a very important but difficult question, but I would answer by the way of I just did a few examples of our thinking.
No, I think that was a very good answer. I guess I know you're super busy, and I'd like to just get your take on kind of one more side. So you mentioned earlier that you've been focused on developing a sector competency in blockchain, and I think this year like DeFi has completely like consumed the entire sort
We're
of
all on
spotlight that
blockchain.
there is.
There's no was that, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. My fault.
I was just going to say that that sort of like this year DeFi
I
has
didn't
sort of
quite hear
like
all that.
consumed the spotlight for this, you know, for the entire like blockchain industry. What are the other sort of like what other parts it's aside from sort of like, you know, use cases aside from money would do you think we should be looking at when it comes to blockchain?
So is the other question is the question what else besides DeFi do we view
Exactly.
as very promising? Is that the question? Well, I did mention NFTs just now, but really I think DeFi has a long way left in its cycle, and I'll tell you why I think that. I think that the DeFi, the maturation of DeFi, is extremely related to the development and the capabilities of the surrounding technology. Here's an example of what I mean. With 2020 Ethereum, there's a high barrier in terms of transaction cost, and and there are issues with the latency, with the speed of the chain, right? As we know, so this is very limiting towards the complexity of the decentralized products, financial or otherwise, that you can have. So what's happening now with Near and Solana and Polkadot and Ethereum 2.0 is that, and others, is that new capabilities are coming online, and that's going to fundamentally change the complexity and the sophistication of what you can implement. A great example of that is Serum, which is one of our portfolio companies that we think extremely highly of. So in Ethereum world, you can have an AMM, you can have an automated market maker, you can do things like Uniswap, which are enormously compelling. Uniswap has done a fantastic job of taking some key functionality and making it enormously successful. Excuse me. But now you have Solana, which enables transaction speed that is as much as 10,000 times faster than Ethereum, and with transaction cost that's substantially less. And now, as a result of that capability, you can do things in the decentralized finance world that are much more sophisticated than an AMM. And Serum, again, being an example of that, where they have a full on-chain order book, fundamentally not possible before. So the key takeaway then is that decentralized finance, this trend is still, in our view, kind of early. Most important reason why, because the surrounding technologies are becoming increasingly robust and mature, thus opening up the design space. So I would really stay in DeFi for a while.
Got it. And so I know we're running out of time, and I guess I just like to thank you so much for your time, and I think the sort of the future looks very bright with the sort of with the direction that the industry is going, the talent that is sort of like flowing into it, and I guess lastly as well, of course, with investors such as yourself, actively participating in it. So thanks again, Matthew.
Thanks very much, Arthur. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
My pleasure.